Okay, so be honest. Um, are there things that Jesus says that you don't like? Are there things? Because when I talk to some people, sometimes the same thing comes up. People tend to have the same problem with what Jesus said. We all kind of go everywhere, but the one that I hear the most often is that people don't like that there's a line. There's a line, and there are some who are inside that line, and there is a line, and there are some who are outside that line. And when I talk to people, that's usually the one that they don't like, because that means that there are people that they love or that love them. There are people that we love that love us that are outside of that line. That's what it means to be elect. It means that there are some who are in and there are some who are out. Those whom Christ has saved, He saved from the ramifications of judgment. You see, because we're all going to be judged. That's not up for debate. That doesn't have anything to do with whether you like it or not. That's a reality. We will, when we die or when Jesus comes again, we will be judged. But we don't have to deal with the ramifications of that judgment. That's what it means to be saved. It means that we can be saved from what that outcome might be. Now, we like to believe, and this is usually, I think, where people have problems, is we like to believe that everybody's just going to go to the big party up in the sky, and we're all going to hop onto the big tail end of the Congo that never ends and just dance away forever. And that's great, but I want you to see that there are lines. And if that riles you up, if that doesn't sit well with you, then I'm okay with that, because that's kind of the purpose of Advent, which is to rattle your cage a little bit and make you think. Now, maybe you're thinking about communion. Because when we take communion and I hold up the cup and I repeat to you the words that Jesus had said, the words that I say aren't my own words, they're Jesus's, and they have been repeated over and over and over for centuries, for millennia. And if you listen to those words, you might not understand what I'm trying to say, because Jesus says, He says, this is the cup, the covenant in my blood, a new covenant shed for you, He's talking to the disciples, and for all people. Well, doesn't all mean all? And the answer is yes, all means all. I'm sure you remember John 3:16. Somebody's got to have it tattooed on their body somewhere around here. God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. Why? Not so that the world would be condemned, but that those who believe in Him may not perish, that they may have eternal life. All means all. I feel like sometimes when we talk about these things, especially in our litigious society with contracts, whenever somebody says something, we're always just waiting for the but, the shoe to drop. Okay, where's the but? There's no but here. All means all. All means everyone. All. I can't be any more clear. All means all. So if all means all, then what does it mean that there are some who are on the outside? We know the answer to this if we actually think about it. If we look at how we people, humans, act and are in the world. Jesus said in our reading, He said, look, there's going to be suffering, and if I didn't come, then that would be unbearable. It would never be resolved. But I'm going to come, says Jesus, and I'm going to stop that. Well, where's that suffering start from? It didn't come from God. God didn't make that suffering. That's us. The suffering that we're going through, that's the suffering that we gave to ourselves. Jesus says there's going to be this sacrilegious desolation, which is really a complex term, but what you need to understand, the quick and simple of it is, people will use religion for things that aren't supposed to be used, and then because they're abusing those religious things, those holy things, what will come of them won't just be bad, it'll be worse than bad, it'll be desolation. We know this to be true. We know that we are the bringers of the apocalypse. Think about every war. Was there ever a war that didn't have to happen? I think all of them could have been resolved in any other way. But we have war. Why? They're profitable. There's starvation in the world. Does anybody need to starve in this world today? Nobody needs to starve in this world today, but we have people who starve in this world today. And why do we let people starve today? That's right, we let them starve. Well, because it's comfortable for us. There is abuse in the world. There are people in this world who take advantage of other people. In the news right now are all the Matt Lauers and Harvey Weinsteins in the world. Well, how did Harvey Weinstein get away with what he did for so long? It's easy. The man made money, hand over fist, and he got a lot of Academy Awards. And when he does that, people are willing to look the other way and let him do whatever it is he wants to do because we like it. We like who and what he is because he brings to us the things that we want. Now, maybe we personally don't have any investment in Harvey Weinstein, but as a society, we are still culpable. This is how suffering happens. It doesn't happen because God decided that he's going to bring some apocalypse and the world is going to be all rocked and in turmoil. No. We are the bringers of the apocalypse. And we are the ones who condemn ourselves. To some degree or another, we don't put God first. All of us. I'm the first and foremost of you. And that is because we want what we're going to get from the Harvey Weinsteins, or we don't want to put forth the effort to feed the hungry, or we actually would rather have whatever is going to profit us to make war with whoever we want to make war with. And what will happen is when we get into the presence of God, all of those blinders that we put on, all of those rationalizations that we use to convince ourselves that whatever we were doing was okay, all of those things will fall away. And we will stand naked in all of the senses in front of our God, and we won't have to be told what our problem was. It will be stark. It will be clear. It will be obvious. We were the ones in the wrong. Which is what John 3:17 and 18 says. We all know John 3:16, but do you know John 3:17 and 18? For they loved darkness rather than the light. We are the bringers of apocalypse. It's not some godly event. It's a human event. And in those moments where we bring all of the horrible things of the world, we are stepping outside of the line. Because there's a line. And some are out. So the real question is, how do you get in? I mean, isn't that what we all want? To be inside the line? You can call that whatever you want. I'm going to call it heaven. But that's what we all want. Isn't that the idea? Isn't that what Jesus said? He said, hey, look, if you believe in me, you won't have condemnation. Jesus didn't come to condemn us. He came to save us. So Jesus, how do we get inside the line? How do you get inside the line? Who is inside the line? How do you get spared from destruction, from the gnashing of teeth and the weeping and the crying? I'm going to call that place where God isn't, I'm going to call that hell. How do we get saved from hell and instead find ourselves on the inside in that heaven where we're forgiven, where we have the joy of God? See, because Christ wants all. Remember when I said all? There's no but there. All. All means all, everyone. The wretched he wants to make righteous. The goats he wants to make sheep. The lost he wants to find. When Jesus came into the world, what did he find? He found a world full of sinners. He looked at the Greeks. He looked at the Jews. He said, no longer will you be Jews or Greeks. You will all be my children. He looked at the slave. He looked at the free. He said, no, all of you will just be my children. When he came to the Greeks, everybody knew what the Greeks were. Look, the Greeks had a culture of homosexuality. They were militarily belligerent people who had a whole pantheon of gods. These are not Christ's people. And Jesus said, no, I came for these people. I'm bigger than all of that stuff. He came to the Jews, and we all know what the Jews were. What were the Jews? The Jews were those self-righteous people that no one likes to hang out with. And then they would go to worship, but they wouldn't actually pay attention to anything going on in worship. They would just go through the motions. And Jesus said, no, I'm bigger than all of that too. All means all. How about us, Americans? Let's do us. We're decadent. Come on. Every last one of us has an air conditioning unit, and if it doesn't function, that is a travesty. Right? And we all sleep on perfectly fluffed pillows with memory foam and, oh man, all kinds of things. We are a very decadent people. We verge on worshiping money. Let's be honest. We live in a capitalist society where what? We're supposed to drive for that almighty dollar. And we are a military belligerent nation. Being the superpower in the world comes with side effect. You have to bring war if you're going to be the superpower. We're not a perfect people. Jesus said, no, I'm bigger than all that too. Yeah, all those things and then some. All the things that you got going on in your head that you know about, that you don't tell anybody about, that God knows about, yeah, He's bigger than those things. He's bigger than all the things. In fact, the only thing He's not bigger than is a no. Because there are some who say no. The sad fact is that some answer Jesus with no. They say, no, I don't need your salvation. I'm perfect, I'm holy, I've never done anything wrong. Your sins aren't really sins. I don't need them. I don't need you, Jesus. There are some who say, oh, Jesus is just a little puppy dog, and I can pull him out of my cage, and I can play with him whenever I want. And when I don't want, I can put him back in the cage, and there he lives. He never has anything to do with me, except for when I want him. Or maybe for some, and we know this, that for them, Jesus is a genie. A trauma genie, when they're in tragedy, and they don't know what's going to happen. They're all afraid, and that's when they pull Jesus out of their bottle. Rub, really. Hopefully, maybe Jesus will listen this time. Because He's my genie to do what I tell them to do. That's right. He's not. It's okay. But we believe that. And if you don't believe it, then you know somebody who does believe that. Or you encounter people who believe that, who say no. They say, I don't need Jesus. He can be second or third or somewhere in my lineup. That's okay. But He's not going to be first. They say no. And then we find out the truth, that some are out. But the good news is He hasn't come back yet. We're still here. Which means you all still have a calling. Beginning of our worship today, we had a group of people stand up here. These are our leaders, our elders, our council members who decided that it wasn't enough just to do the calling God has called us to. They were going to take on extra burden. They were going to be even more burdened by the task of being His people, about being the church. And they were going to lead us to the very specific areas to which they were called. But we've all been called. We have all been called to do the same thing, which is until we die or Jesus comes back, tell the world that He is God and loves us and loves everyone. Everyone. Did I stutter? Did all not mean all? There is no but. All. And you have been called. We have all been called to say, come. Worship. Invite them to worship. These people in your life. These people that know you, care about you, respect you, that would actually listen to you. Don't go stand on 220 and start yelling at the cars. I don't know if you ever paid attention. There actually is a guy who comes and he stands on the corner of 220 and Lakeshore Drive and he yells at the cars as they go by. No joke. I am probably the only person in the world who has ever stopped to talk to this man. He has an agenda, let me tell you what. And it is not the love of God. It is the condemnation of the world. Well, not only is that not what Jesus came for, no one cares. Don't be that guy. Bring the love of God. And bring it to people who you care about, who would actually listen to you, who actually need to hear this message, to know there's a God. Look, y'all, this is an amazing time of year because of all the times of year, this is the time where we get to say, hey, you know that thing that you're doing, all the shopping that you're doing and all the craziness and all the traffic, that's for a reason. It's not just for nothing. There's a reason you're doing these things, and it's because God loved you so much, He came into the world. He didn't just wait over there so that maybe you could meet Him somewhere. He didn't just wait halfway so that maybe you could find Him. He came all the way to us. He became a human, a being like us, so that we might know we're loved. That's the season we're in. If there was ever an opportunity to tell someone that there's a God that loves them, it's now. Do you know that there's a God that loves you? Tell someone. Give them a real gift this holiday season. Not just a gift card because you don't know what to get them. A real gift. Give them salvation. It has no expiration date. And it is the only gift worth giving.